All right, so someone forgot to hit record on the last video, so we are doing this one again. Um, I know you guys really are gonna miss the completely nonsensical, rambling, off the cuff style that you've grown used to, but you're just gonna have to get used to this calm, prepared, thorough, experienced voice. Talking about No Time to Die, which I saw this last week. I was gonna put out a more involved video today, but I got called into work early, and I had an obligation after work. I did not have a date. In case you guys are wondering, I've actually been in the midst of a pretty historic slump, but we're gonna get that turned around. Don't you worry. That could be the topic of a future video. I got some tips for slump busters, but I don't feel qualified to give tips when I'm in the midst of one myself. But either way, I saw No Time to Die almost a couple weeks ago now, and didn't even think to talk about it on the channel, but here we are. So I had not been to a movie in a movie theater in almost 2 years. The last movie I saw in a theater was Endgame at in December of 2019. So that, again, that January February movie season is historically bad. So didn't see anything in early 2020, and then March is when Corona hit, and I have not seen anything since. Um, so it was awesome to be back in the theater to see the spectacle. It's comparable to me to the difference between being in for those of you who know, for being in an online class versus being in a lecture hall. When you're in a movie theater or when you're in a lecture hall, the entire auditorium is designed to focus your attention on the screen or on the professor, as opposed to just watching something at home or sitting in class at home. And the way the music, got that intro song, the Billie Eilish song in the opening credits. The opening credits are one of the best parts of the movie. There's these crazy kaleidoscopic animations going while Billie Eilish is just ripping these high notes. That was one of the best parts of the movie for me. The opening credits, they were really cool. But the way the audio is pumped into the movie theater on those sound systems, it just sounds so great. And it's totally worth the money to go to a movie theater. People that tell me they prefer to watch movies at home because of the price, I I think they're just in denial. More power to them, but you're certainly getting a bang for your buck. It's a completely different experience, and it was awesome to be reminded of that because I used to love going to the movies. Used to go all the time during the summer. It was one of my favorite things to do on summer days. Um, but so yeah, I definitely count on some more stuff like this on this channel. Um, as for the movie itself, I did not see Spectre, the most recent Bond before this. That one slipped by me, and I would just talk myself up as this person who sees everything. But I did not see Spectre, and there's definitely some storylines and some characters from that movie that bleed over into this one, and it made the story a bit confusing for me at times. I was able to follow along, and it never became overwhelming, but there's definitely a few, particularly the first sequence of the movie before the opening credits even start, where I felt a little lost, and there were moments like that throughout the movie. I'd love to watch it again after I've seen Spectre. I'd imagine that those moments would be cleared up, and I'd be able to sit back and enjoy it a little bit more, rather than kind of trying to piece everything together, which that's on me. That's not on the movie. I can't take points away from the movie for that. But I know Christoph Waltz was the main villain in Spectre, and he is in this movie. He's just in there for one scene, but he steals it. He does a great job. So clearly there's some carryover from Spectre into this one. From what I remember about Skyfall and Quantum of Solace, those stood very much on their own. There were certainly characters, that ran between both movies. Chief among them was James Bond. But the actual stories, the plot line of the movie itself was very self-contained and independent. And this felt like part two at times, or part five, I guess. So it took away from my experience, but that's my own fault. There were just certain points where I was trying to put things together that would have been answered for me if I had just seen the previous movie. But again, going in there, I was expecting it to be more self-contained, like Skyfall and like Quantum of Solace. Casino Royale was the first one in the series, so they didn't have anywhere to go from there. So obviously that one's its own story as well. But that being said, I still think that if I had seen Spectre, I would not be overly impressed with the villain in this movie, who is definitely the sort of weak link of the entire thing. And he's threatening. He brings a good presence to the screen, but his motivation is really where the movie sort of seems to flop. He has a very elaborate plan to take out a ton of people, and it's certainly something that we got to stop. And it's exciting to see us try, Bond as well as his support team trying to stop it. I thought that all the actors in the movie did a great job. Craig, as usual, was fantastic. I really like the girl who played the new 007, who's replaced him now that he's retired. She had to bring, an intensity, and she had to match Craig in every scene she was in. And for the most part, she did a great job with it. She has a couple jokes that sort of fall flat. At least they fell flat for me. But other than that, she matches intensity in every scene, which if you're the new 007, you're going to have to do that. And she was fantastic. Ana de Armas was incredible, like she is in everything. And then the rest of the returning characters are really good too. And the action, the cinematography, and the action and the way the music is integrated with the action, that iconic theme song was definitely my favorite moments in the movie that made me remember why I loved being in the movie theater so much. And it's why I'm definitely going to recommend that you go out and see this, especially if you're in a position like me where you haven't been to the movies in a long time. Despite my complaints, I definitely encourage you to go out and see this thing. But the action scenes are shot very well. They're not chopped up every 2 seconds. You can see the full car chases. You can see the shootouts. It's very clear what's going on. There's not, a bunch of lens flare, shaky. It's very, very well shot. And you can tell that they put thought into these sequences before they just went out there and shot them. So the action in this movie is very well done. And it's very unique. It's not, I'd say it's a level above a lot of the blockbusters that we see these days. Again, just the thing that holds this movie back from being really great for me is the villain. It's just his motivation is very flimsy. And his plan is very elaborate, and I don't want to go into spoilers, but it's going to result in the death of a lot of people. And I just don't think we learned enough about him to know why he would do something so crazy. Again, I haven't seen Spectre, and part of his backstory is tied in with that organization. I'm trying to be really careful not to spoil anything, but ultimately I was just left with more questions than answers when it comes to him. He has a very cool, Bond villain-esque lair, and he's threatening when he's on screen. You want to stop him. He's got this crazy plan. It's just the motivation behind everything. I just didn't feel like there was a person behind it. And that really held the movie back for me, from being truly great. And just the plot starts to unravel a little bit towards the end. He just did not have there just wasn't enough time spent with it. You really just did not get to know enough about his motivation to really, really care about stopping him. Obviously, he's got this crazy plan that is very dangerous, and that's enough to get you excited. It's enough to get you to root for the heroes. But again, I just wish there was a little bit more motivation for the villain. There's a lot of stuff that you see early in the movie about his backstory that never really pays off. And that was the most frustrating part of the movie for me. Whenever he comes on screen, even though he is threatening and scary in some scenes, it really slows it down. And he has a good bit of screen time. It just feels wasted. I just really was struggling to find out what his motivation was the entire time, even as the credits were rolling. But other than that, it was fantastic to be back at the movies, and this was a good way to get back there. The action scenes are super fun. They brought in some more kind of old school Bond gadgets for this one. I really enjoyed that. They do it, tastefully, kind of in a Nolan sort of way where it's not over the top. Um, and as far as this is a worthy last performance and last film from Daniel Craig as the character. It's going to be very weird seeing someone else. He's been James Bond for my entire movie watching life. So overall, I'm not going to give it a score or anything, but I definitely recommend you go out and see this. Again, it's really just the plot and the motivation for the villain in particular is a little thin, but still a great movie. I'm going to cut this off now because this is already running way too long. In the future, I'm going to try to add more elements to these clips from the trailers, music, posters, things. That's just an example for this video, but I try to do that for everything. I just I've had no time to myself lately, but like I said earlier, I got called into work early today. I had an obligation after work. Tonight it was not going to happen, but I still wanted to get this out. And I want to know, have you guys seen this? Have you seen No Time to Die? Did you like it? Did you have similar gripes to me, or am I just completely out of bounds here? Let me know. Second time recording this, and I went even longer the second time. I'm going to cut it off here, but I'll be back tomorrow. Adios.